pandemic got us into a reflective space and made us look inward to see what we can do for the world at large. As a self-expression coach, I became a catalyst for women and started Vani, a one-on-one coaching program for women on finding their voice, to speak up, to be visible. As a storyteller, I spotted there were many ordinary people amongst us leading extraordinary lives, making a difference to the world, and they needed to be heard. Thus was born You and I with Rashmi Shetty, where amazing personal journeys with their uniqueness and individuality are showcased, a reaffirmation of the fact: open your eyes wider. The world is far more beautiful when we acknowledge the presence of both you and I. Our guest today is Megna Jain, an entrepreneur, baker, and public speaker. She runs a gifting and celebrations company called Dream a Dozen that started in 2018. They pride themselves on running an all-women kitchen that bakes delicious treats for their individual and corporate clients. At the age of 18, she started selling cupcakes to her university's cafeteria and has never looked back. Today, they deliver desserts and gift boxes to thousands of customers across the country. Megna's work has been recognized nationwide. She was selected as the youngest of 4 women achievers by Tanishq in their campaign #Every Woman a Diamond, where she was shown on hoardings and newspapers across the country. She's also been written about in leading publications like Vogue, YourStory, Prajawani, and Humans of Bombay. She's also been a TEDx speaker and is passionate about encouraging more people, especially women, to choose entrepreneurship. Megna dreams of opening kitchens globally where she can employ more women and change the representation of women in the F&B industry. Hi, Megna. Such a pleasure having you on You and I with Rashmi Shetty.
Thank
know
you.
I know you don't have too many years with you to ask you what was little Megna like, because compared to me, you're still very little. But then I'm curious to know, to the enterprising Megna that I know today you as, what was little Megna like? Ambitious, always wanted to be a businesswoman. How was your childhood?
No, not at all. I mean, I was very average, above average in school. I think our education system has certain buckets. You can be good at academics, at sports, dance, music, and I didn't fit into any of those buckets. And so I was always told in the parent-teacher meeting that I have more potential, that typical dialogue, but it didn't mean anything to me. What do I even do with that sentence? So I was only known as the girl with long hair. That was my identity. Slowly, I think I just like to eat sweets and things, started baking, and then it grew from there. But I never grew with the kind of ambition that I have now. I was just a very ordinary, average student.
I liked it when you say you had potential, because a typical line in a report card would be "can do better."
Yeah.
And no teacher says what you should do to do better.
Exactly.
But everybody writes the same line.
Yeah.
So, yes, and the girl with long hair. I love all these titles that you have picked and you still recall. But then one more thing that you said is you like to bake. So, was baking something that you saw somebody do? What drew you to baking? Why the curiosity towards baking and not cooking generally?
Um, I actually feel, although contrary to what most people feel, that baking is much easier because there's a recipe and you have to follow it. Cooking is, when my mother tells me put little bit more, I say, can you give me a measurement? What do you mean little? So it was just out of ease, and also because I enjoy the desserts part of the meal more than the meal itself. And that's why I was drawn to it. And it was quite late in my childhood also. It was in my 11th standard holidays. where one of our neighbors, she was taking a class, and I just decided to go for that class, and then it just snowballed from there.
And are you completely Bangalore bred, Meghna?
Pretty much, yes. I've been here for the last 2 decades, and I'm as Bangalore as as
You can
possible.
get. Okay, so school you were average. Then when you moved to college, which subject did you take, and how did you pursue that choice? Because generally
I
people follow the herd.
Right. So, I mean, I was very similar. Um, like 90% of my class, when our accounts teacher asked us that why did you take commerce, I said it was because I didn't like science. There's the only option. And I took commerce, and around that time, I also started baking. And we have an accounting project to submit in CBSE, in which I wrote about the story of a girl who starts a bakery. That was my business plan that I submitted there. So I think it started there, and then in BCom, I kind of went from a very rigorous schooling method to a rather relaxed college life. And suddenly I didn't know what to do with the time I had. And because I stayed at home, it wasn't like I was, doing something outside of college or partying with my friends. So I just started baking and selling. And I found that cupcakes are very easy to make, easy to sell. So that was, and I wasn't even that good at it, but I was like, okay, let's see how it goes, and that's how it started.
You say you are not good at it, then who are you selling it to?
My own classmates, my own friends. I say I'm not good at it because now when I see the photos, I would not put that on the menu. But at that time, at that age, anything colorful, anything sweet, most people would happily eat it. So I actually started taking it to class. I put it on the WhatsApp group. I asked how many people would buy. There were 70 people. We got orders for 90 cupcakes.
Ooh,
And
okay.
then did this a couple of times, took it to my classroom, started selling, in the 5 minute break between two periods. And then one of the teachers found out, and she was like, what's going on here? She said, where are your books? I had like so much frosting and cupcakes and sprinkles and the whole thing under the shelf. And she said, this is not allowed, you cannot do this. um, and then I said, okay, sorry, I won't do, I'm sorry. Then one of my classmates stood up, and he was like, why can't she do it? So many people have businesses in college, she should be allowed. Then another professor, he connected me to the cafeteria. He said, this is a legitimate route, you sell to the cafeteria, cafeteria will sell on your behalf, don't make the classroom your shop. So that's what
Oh,
how it.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how did you devise the economics of it as to how much would be the price of one cupcake and you'll make a profit? Did you make a profit or
We
compared to
did,
what
we
you
did.
did?
I mean, our calculation of profit at that time was only the ingredients. I didn't calculate rent or labor charge, anything like that. But we did make a profit, but it was more or less that, okay, Just Bake on the other side of the cafeteria selling it for 30, I'll sell it for 40. So that that's how we decided. But we did try. Even today, I have the book in which we wrote our accounts, and we tried to, the first entry in that book is capital account 5,000, to cash 5,000. So
Okay.
we tried to be as proper as a commerce student can be at that age.
Okay. And who is we, Meghna?
So I did the baking, and I asked two of my friends if they would join, because I also started going for business plan competitions at that time. One of the teachers, she suggested that why don't you, this is a business, why don't you go make a plan out of it? So I needed a team. So one girl, she had a marketing specialization. She also at that time made a Facebook page. One girl did the accounting, and three of us just said, okay, now we have a business, and now let's do this.
And are you three still together, or it was just a college project that stayed in college?
Um, the finance one went on to do her things in the world of finance. The marketing one, after a few years, after I started full time, did join the business for 2 years. And then she went on to do her MBA and do other things. But we're still very close. They still help me out informally, but not a part of the business.
Okay, okay. So these things which happened, now when you're looking back and you're remembering all of those, you're recollecting those moments of how the first steps into entrepreneurship began. Uh, to who Meghna is now in the business world. The journey has been for how many years now?
All 9, 10 years.
Okay, so almost a decade now that
Yeah.
you've been into business.
Yes.
So that little Meghna who had this interest in cupcakes, asked people on WhatsApp, got orders and took them, then sold it to the cafeteria and then made her money, to the Meghna today. What is the evolution of your journey, Meghna, as a businesswoman? And more than anything else, how have your dreams changed?
Um, in a way, the dreams have not changed. I went into business thinking that whatever I do, I was very inspired by the Starbucks story. I read both his books, and I felt that this person in 40 years, he has like 30,000 stores across the globe. And it's just in one lifetime. It's not a generation, a business that goes through generations. And I felt that, if he can do it, I can also do it. So I have that dream of having stores all around the world, even now. Stores or presence, in whatever form, we'll figure it out. But what I didn't realize before I started or when I was much younger is the number of lives that we impact through the business, especially within our team, our customers, to a certain extent, our vendors. I didn't take into account the human relationships and how important they are, and how those are the moments that will keep us motivated, and not the publication in magazines and speeches and things like that. So yeah, I think that I realized that the moments are just as important or even more important than the milestones.
Beautifully said. And in the process of making a business, in fact, drawing the plan and starting it formally out in the market, because in college it's different, it's still protected.
Yeah.
But when you step out into the market and decide to take it at a bigger plane, there are a lot of questions and challenges which come to your own value system with which you get into the market, right? So, what were some of those core values you still hold very hard and fast to? And what were some of those where you said, no, it's okay, I think I'll go ahead and do it this way?
Um, I think somewhere along the way, I realized that the industry, the F&B industry, is very male dominated. And I didn't know the statistics at that time. It was just from experience of working in a factory, working in a food tech startup, speaking to people, that I realized that 3%, only 3% of the chefs in commercial kitchens are female. 97% are male. And there are a variety of reasons for that. But when I started the business, I said, okay, we will have an all women kitchen. And that has been very difficult because we have to train them from scratch, because the industry itself doesn't have enough skilled women who are working. So we are hiring girls from government schools, we're hiring lesser privileged women, and we're training them. And that training period is it takes time. um, and I do think that the growth could have been faster if we say compromised on that value and said, hey, it's okay, we'll get a couple of male chefs who've had 10-15 years of experience and they'll be able to do it. But I just felt that I wanted to prove that notion wrong, that women can't do it, can't be in the kitchen, can't whatever notions are there. And so that is one value that we stuck by, even though it may have slowed down the growth of the business in a way. Um, One value that we didn't stick by, we haven't changed it yet, but I am considering, so because we are focusing on hiring women that are unskilled or semi-skilled, we need to make the processes very easy for them. Because of which there are certain things in the market like premixes. Up until now, we were baking everything from scratch, and baking from scratch has many benefits. But premixes also has its own benefits and own disadvantages. Up until now, I was very against premix, but now I've started considering. We've not put it on the menu yet, but I've started considering because for the sake of one value, we can't be so 100% on everything, otherwise we'll be running an NGO. We want to run a profitable organization also. So that is something, I mean, it's a very specific example, but two things that immediately came to my mind.
Okay, so when you talk about your team of bakers that you pick, you said from government schools and you wanted women, completely women oriented. This is something that when I heard, I really liked because if women don't empower women, who would? And the faith and trust that you have with them, because they are coming from a space where maybe most of them don't even have an exposure to all of this. How do you first, what is it that you need to work on first? Their mindset, their passion towards something that you're passionate about. How do you make sure that they give in at least maximum of what they can? How do you develop that interest in them into this space?
Um, I'm still learning. Every day, every experience is new. Because we've been raised in different ways. We come from different backgrounds. Many things that we take for granted should not be taken for granted. Things like using a microwave. We've grown up using a microwave. But we can't take for granted that they understand what a plastic plate is, glass plate is, steel plate is. This should not go into the microwave. So I'm also understanding how to set those processes from the beginning to tell them. But there is when they come, they're only coming because they want a job. They're not coming because they're passionate about baking. And so to inculcate that passion, we talk a lot about the girls who've been with us for a long time. There is one person, she's been with us for 4 years, and she came from nothing, no knowledge about this background, studied only till about 10th, 11th standard. But now she runs the kitchen. She trains the girls who come, and we are hoping that they can see themselves there, that 4 years later, if you were doing an alternate job, if you were working in a supermarket or an agarbatti factory, you don't see your career path that way. You're treated as a replaceable resource. But here, you're groomed in a way that you can see that, hey, I can run this kitchen 2 3 years later if I work hard, and I can make that much money. Today she is the highest earning member of her family. So we hope that with the dreams that we have for the business, we create dreams in their minds as well.
Wow. Dreams from the business, dreams in their minds. And when you're talking about this transition, you said the one who's earning the most in her family has been with you for the last 4 years. When did you formally make Dream a Dozen a business? 4 years back?
5 years back.
5 years
5 years ago. For the first 8 months or so, I did everything myself. I baked everything from my parents' kitchen. And then moved the business out of home into a commercial space. And it was when I moved, she was the first employee, and she had come for housekeeping. And I just realized that she's very smart and she's very energetic. So started teaching her little, and now she's come very far.
Okay, so one question here. Since you deal with women from that community, when you're talking to women and you take them into employment, there are many things you come from a privileged background, you've taken for granted, and they haven't. So there are many things you know about life and how to use all of it. What have been your lessons from them?
I think just the fact that this is, we can't take it for granted. There was there was no electricity in the entire colony, and we were all just looking out the window, and it was late. We were hoping to go home, and it was raining, and the only our place had electricity. And so one of them said, "Didi, how come we have electricity?" And I said, "What do you mean? We have the generator." And then I realized she doesn't know what I mean. She doesn't know the concept of a generator. And so all of these small, and they happen every day. Every day we realize we cannot take all these luxuries for granted. And given that we've been raised in privilege, we are healthy, we don't have to worry about a roof on our head or food on our plate. All of that leads to believe that it is our duty, it's our responsibility to work hard. And if we are not working hard and creating something or building something, then what's the point of being given so many things? So that, I mean, it reminds me every day that I have to do it. There's a responsibility on my shoulder.
Okay. And then as you started moving in business, 5 years back means you were in 2018 that you started the business.
Yeah.
And at that time alone, then you moved in and a team slowly started evolving around the business. So, first, before we get there, the name, the secret or the journey behind that name, Dream a Dozen, where did that evolve? How did you arrive at a name like that?
Uh, I wish I had a
A
nice story for
story.
it, but I
Maybe time to
don't.
do one.
I honestly, like, we tried. I struggled for names for 2 months before we started. We were thinking butter this, chocolate this, spoon this, 101 different things. But I was very clear before we started that whatever it is, it has to have a trademark. So that was one of the very big criteria to say that this cannot have been already taken. And second, I like the word dream. I do believe in the power of dreaming big, and this just kind of suited that whole belief.
Okay, so like a baker's dozen, your dozen has 13, not 12.
I don't know. I haven't given it much thought.
Okay, no, because when I saw the name, that was the first thing that struck me. So, a
Yeah.
baker's dozen is not 12. So,
Yeah,
I was like, okay, wait a
so yeah,
minute.
actually everything we make is eggless, and I
Okay.
realized only a few months after I started the business that some people are associating dozen with eggs.
Hmm.
So it was a little contrary, but I said, okay, it doesn't matter. The biggest businesses, the name doesn't matter. It just depends how good of a work you do. So
Yeah, yeah, true, true. And so you just said that most of it is eggless. So you have a large amount of clientele to keep you in on the profit side. A lot of people now prefer.
everything is eggless,
Oh,
100%. Yes,
oh,
yes,
okay.
yeah.
And the ones have your customers kind of surprised you by asking for eggless this and that from a group of youngsters who normally don't care about what goes into their system?
So there are a couple of things because it's fully eggless. The families who prefer 100% eggless, they don't have any ounce of doubt that there can be a mix-up. So the loyalty becomes much more for because they know that there's absolutely no chance, and there are certain communities who prefer that. And then nowadays there's the whole talk of veganism, plant-based, cruelty-free, and it's helping us there as well because we can very easily make vegan items. Of course, ours have butter, but we have a vegan menu as well. So from both perspective, it has helped the business.
So this was not something that you thought about in 2018 when you set out. You were only looking at a small niche community which doesn't like egg in their cakes or baked items, or did you have an idea that you will have a definite clientele?
So I was forced to do this many years ago when I was first started baking because my father did not allow egg in the house.
Oh,
So any baking that I did, I had to find an eggless recipe for it. Even the baking workshop that I went to, I would make eggless version, then go back to her house and say, Auntie, is this okay? So in that front, I didn't have a choice, but when I moved the business out of home, I did have a choice. But we found so many people saying we didn't even realize it doesn't have egg. Because there are many people don't eat cakes to eat egg. Otherwise, they would eat like an egg puff or an omelette. They just eat cakes to have something sweet to celebrate an occasion. And if you get good enough texture, good enough taste, then you're catering to the folks who have egg also.
Does this make your bakery a kind of a different standalone bakery in comparison to those around you? Because most bakeries use egg, right?
Yes.
So since you give only eggless, does this make it a standalone in comparison? So do you have too much of competition in this space?
I know bakeries that are fully vegan now that have come up recently. I know bakeries that do both, but I actually don't know anybody who does 100% eggless on the commercial scale. I know home bakers, but not ones who can give the kind of volume and convenience in terms of immediate, very fast turnaround time as we do. So that has worked for us, and my father is very proud of it.
He should be. Now, Valentine's Day is round the corner. So, is there something special coming from Dream a Dozen?
Yes, yes, absolutely. We have limited edition menus for every season. This time we have a lot of strawberry things. We have a piñata heart-shaped cake. We have, in fact, one of my favorite things is the bento cake, and we have a Spotify QR code on it. And you can actually scan it and have a playlist of romantic Valentine's Day songs. And it's totally edible. So we have a lot of things up our sleeves, and I hope that people enjoy it.
Oh, yes. So, if they listen to this podcast on Spotify, also, then there's a
Yes.
huge advantage.
Yes.
Okay, great, great. So, lovely plans coming up as well. Great, Meghna. And talking about your team today, who all does your team comprise and how many people are there totally in?
So in total, we're 18 people. We have about half of the team, I would say, are related to the kitchen. So kitchen, housekeeping, delivery. And then there's a section of the team that is marketing. We had a choice to kind of move to an agency for marketing, but because we don't have a shop, we have an online bakery. Because it's all online, the photographs, the videography, all of that is very important and very important to be real time. So we didn't want to outsource it. So we have a few people in marketing, including part-time interns, freelancers, plus one full-time. And then there is a person in business development who's helping us get our corporate clientele.
Okay, awesome. So 2018, things were hunky-dory when you started. 2019, it was just falling in place. And then 2020, the world went back home.
Yes.
So how did you work from home? Everyone worked from home. And what happened to you and your business at that point of time? Because people became very conscious. We had a lot of home bakers evolve at that point of time. And how did you keep this fire on?
So that time was difficult for everyone, even more difficult for us in a way because 2019 we had started growing, and we also had trouble with the previous premises. The caretaker there was constantly harassing us. He was doing, he was cutting our electricity, things like that, and we said we have to move out of here. So the beginning of 2020 was where when we found this space where we are currently sitting, um, and it was 3 times the size of the previous location. And we had decided to, we actually had totally different plans to have a cupcake experience center, to have one section where kids can, wear a chef's hat and an apron, and then get a cupcake, do their own frosting, put sprinkles. So it was all very touch and feel kind of thing. And then we had planned all of that. We moved into this space on March 1st and had planned to do an inauguration in 2 weeks. Then it just looked like something, I don't know, something going wrong, let's delay it. So we told everybody we'll postpone it. We had called bloggers, journalists, our families, customers, and then it basically we just shut down. And like you said, we can't work from home, but we had very small staff at the time, just 5 people. We wanted to be able to pay them, so we actually did some interesting things. We played games with our customers and we raised money, and we not enough to pay the full salaries. Of course we had to dip into our savings, but we tried to keep our customers engaged. I did some online workshops. um, then with the staff, I spoke to them 3 times a day, and I sent ingredients to their house, and we practiced some of our piping skills. So for about 6 weeks we did all of that. Then when we came back to office also, we didn't know what to do, how to clean, what to wear. And then this touch and feel experience was just out of the question. So we didn't go ahead with the cupcake experience center. Then our client said, okay, everyone's working from home. For Diwali and Christmas, we need to send gift boxes to their house. That's when then we kind of pivoted. And before Diwali, Christmas, we used to do, gulab jamun cheesecake and things that are very tasty but have to be had instantly, fresh food. Then we understood making longer shelf life items. We figured out the packaging for courier pan India. I had never sent one courier in my life before that, but we tried to figure out courier. And then we sent out about 1,500 gift boxes from our kitchen on Diwali. And that was like a huge thing. And we actually, then when we closed our books, we did better in that year than ever before.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That was a
Okay.
pandemic.
Yeah. So it was a pandemic for the whole world, and there were a lot of moments where everyone were like, "Will this last? Will this stay longer? Will we ever go back to what we normally did before the lockdown and stuff like that?" What were some of the questions that you had in your mind at that point of time? Because you had just started a business, you were entering with a lot of dreams, and you had read, I don't know, by then you had already read Starbucks or the Starbucks
I
story?
had read it in college.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So here you are with the foundation of the Starbucks story, and suddenly this comes into everyone's life, not yours alone, and everything takes a back step. So, uh, what kept you completely driving yourself? Because at this time, motivation is intrinsic; it's not from outside, right? So, what was driving you, Meghna? What is it every morning you told yourself?
Um, I was very disheartened. I was very, I mean, we would get calls from our customers pleading that we make the cake. That you don't have to open your shop. I'll come from the back and pick it up, and I'll do this, I'll do that. And at one point, I stopped answering calls. I switched off the phone because for a business person who has done so much to generate demand, and then to say no to every customer that knocks on your doorstep, it's heartbreaking every time you have to say no. But the first pandemic was still okay. The second one was really something. For the whole world, also for India, it was very intense. And for us, first pandemic, by God's grace, none of us got COVID. Second pandemic, some of our staff got COVID. We had to, take care of them, shut down the kitchen. All of us got tested multiple times. It was just a very one day at a time kind of thing. I can't say that I had this insane motivation that got me out of bed. I was just dragging myself out of bed and saying, no, I have to go, because when they don't know, when the team doesn't know what to do, they turn to me only. And I also don't know the answer, but I have to say something. So it was just that. It was just that I'm responsible for these people, and we just have to push through and get through.
Okay, so a decade now into business. looking back, you had one of the toughest moments that no business person would ever like to get into, where everyone closed shop and, in fact, shut shop and were forced to do it, and then come back with a bang. So, like you said, Diwali orders, Christmas orders pivoted the whole thing. And then what happened? Did you have to tell people you existed, or by then word had spread and people started coming in?
We still have to tell people every day, with a kind of, we're very ambitious, and once our chef, she said, I was just discussing that, what is your dream for the business? And she said, I don't want to tell people that I work at a bakery called Dream a Dozen. They should just know what Dream a Dozen is. And that's what we're working towards. So maybe I don't see a point of time coming where we don't have to tell more people about us. We always do. We're always looking for more customers, and we're always looking to retain our current customers.
And what have been some of the milestones when you look back in this decade journey of yours as an entrepreneur, a businesswoman? What have been some milestones, that some that you set, which you reached, and some which came just as an after effect of the great work that you do?
Um, so last year was quite significant for us, because our work started getting recognized in different places that I'd never expected. There was a campaign that Tanishq did, recognizing 4 women achievers, and I got selected for that campaign. I was the youngest person, and then I didn't even know at that time what it was. When the shoot happened, I had no idea. I only came to know when one of our customers sent a photo of the newspaper, and she said, "Megna, is that you?" I said, "What?" That is me. And then for 3 months, repeatedly on national and local newspapers, on hoardings across the country, calls were pouring in for my parents with congratulations. And I am as far from a model as anybody can be. But it wasn't a modeling assignment, because the model's name and designation was never written, but their campaign was to feature people who've achieved something. And I mean, after that, not as a result of that, differently spoke at a TEDx event, been published in YourStory, and some of the things that I really looked up to as a student in college. We got all of those, some of those successes, but I think when people congratulated me for the Tanishq assignment, for some time I couldn't understand why I was being congratulated. I thought, oh, it was just one day of shoot. I've done so many more difficult things in my life, and but it was not the Tanishq thing that they were congratulating. That Tanishq was a recognition of all the work, all the overnight stays in the kitchen, and all of the 15-hour days that we've had. That was a recognition of the work. It was just one way of being recognized. So yeah, those are some of the milestones. But I think in terms of moments, like I mentioned, just yesterday, in fact, I was speaking to a girl who's just joined us. It's only been about 6 weeks, and I was just saying, how do you feel? How are you doing? And she said, I never used to. It's her first job here. It's her first job out of college. She said, I never used to think that really amazing things happened to me, and this happened, and this job happened, and it's so great, and I'm so glad that it happened. And that it just really changed my perspective about being responsible for people's first jobs, first careers, first. We're trying to set the benchmark in terms of what a good workplace should be, and it takes a lot of effort to do that. It's much easier if you didn't care, but I think that itself was something that is a milestone for me as well.
Yeah, very beautifully put. Because when you say that it didn't matter much if we didn't care, but you chose to, there's a lot about who you are and where you're coming from that makes the difference. So, Meghna, when you are looking on this journey, this decade, first of all, congratulations on being picked by Tanishq. It truly is a special moment. And to be featured as one of the four, amazing. Very, very great. So, congratulations on that. And when you look back on these little moments of your life as a businesswoman in the last 4 years formally and before that put together, what have been your biggest highs where you really smiled year to year, happy you did it and chose what you're doing? And what have been some of the lows that you didn't expect ever? Because entrepreneurship and being in business is something many youngsters aspire for when they're in college, when they're in school, and want to be because they have seen just the highs. They don't know the lows. Like you may be looking like a swan on the surface, but how much you're paddling your feet, only you know, to move and keep yourself moving when things go tough, right? Like in recent Kapil Sharma show, there was this Kansa, that teacher who said that लोग सिर्फ बुलंदियां देखते हैं पैर के छाले नहीं.
Mhm.
So what have those moments been for you where you've really had your highs and the moments where you had your lows but then pulled it through, like a customer suddenly rejecting an order or something like that? Can you just put some of those moments for us?
In the year of 2020, when we did our first Diwali with Pan India shipping, it was a very stressful time because we had never dealt with that kind of volume before. And we were working literally, like there were days where we worked at 4 o'clock in the morning. And it wasn't just me, two of our team members came as well. And I just felt so indebted to them that they agreed to do this. It isn't even their business, but they agreed. And we did all of that and we shipped out the orders. And unfortunately, we got into business with the wrong courier company. So it's just a very manual process the way that they were operating. They gave those like kind of like tickets, and they don't write anything clearly on it. They just scribble the name of the recipient and a pin code. And because there were 1,500 of those and it was not clear which company is which person, if a company asked to track, we would have to manually search for 15 between 1,500 and see that, okay, did this HR director's parcel reach, did this person's parcel reach? So it was very painful and they had no automation, and they would say things like, oh, this place is in a village, but our cycle goes only once in 7 days to this village, so once it goes then it will get delivered. And it was a mess. So but from the client, one of the clients that we had, he was an intermediary between another person, so he was taking a commission and he got the order for us. Now the way that they operate, they don't tell the customer who their manufacturer is. So he put me on conference with the client, and I was trying to explain that we are in a difficult position, and he was making unreasonable demands. They had ordered a very large quantity, and he wanted that 50% of them should be delivered the same day, when we had no control over it. And he was saying things like, "Oh, Amazon, it happens," and things. And I was trying to explain, and then the person who was in the middle, he his name was Gaurav. So this client says that, Gaurav, why don't you speak to the courier company? Maybe if a man speaks, it will be more assertive, more aggressive. And I was already so shaken up by that time because we had been working non-stop and it was physically so taxing. And by God's grace, I kept my mouth shut in front of the client. But once he kept the phone, I was so like, I was just bursting with so many emotions about, there's not a single man in the kitchen. Everybody's been working overnight to make your order happen, and it has happened. It has gone from our place on time. Unfortunately, the courier guys were wrong. And then you're saying that we need a man to fix this. And I just sat in my room and cried. Like, I just didn't know what to do. But of course, then one of the highs many many weeks later was when their payment came.
So you managed to get all the 1,500 people get their cakes individually in their home?
There were maybe about 30 packages that never reached, and we had to remove that from the billing. But it was a small price to pay for the kind of people we were dealing with. They were blackmailing us. They were threatening that we will hold your shipments. It was just a very, very big mess. By God's grace, 21 and 22 went very smoothly. We chose a different courier company, all automated, no problem at all. But 2022 was really a lesson learned by burning my fingers.
What was the biggest lesson you learned in that, Meghna? You got the billing, yes, but
Yes.
what was the lesson learned from that?
I should have been more thorough with the courier. I kind of went with them because they spoke very nicely. They were also from Rajasthan. And I just went with them because I thought they were decent people, but they were just the opposite. But I think that it's okay to pay a little premium if you are depending on technology, because it's very unlikely that technology can go wrong. Now when we send our boxes, they're all scanned. There's barely any room for error at all. But yeah, dependence on technology, not doing business with people without enough research. I mean, in retrospect, I should have not done it. But like I said, I had not even sent one courier in my life before that. so we did some trials, but there were maybe a dozen trials, and that's not enough for 1,500 packages together.
Yeah. Okay, a question now inconsequential, but did the male presence talking to the courier make a difference?
It made no difference. It made absolutely no difference. He did try to speak. In fact, he himself came here, helped us, but those people were just the wrong people.
Okay. Yeah. So now, since you're in that reflective space, thinking of all of these, the pandemic was a big teacher for all of us. Not that we were ready and willing students, but then we were forced to be students. Lots of learnings for all of us, the pause button pressed forcefully in many of our lives. Each of us took our own lessons. So, what did it teach you, Meghna? Because you had just got into business, you were relatively young in the market. What were your learnings from the pandemic?
I think it taught me many things. It taught me that it's important to stick with your team in a time like that, because today they've stuck with us because we were there that time. I think it also taught me people's mindset towards work changed. There was a lot more focus on work-life balance, and I'm the type of person who's 90% work. So for me to adjust to new employees' expectations, it took a while. It took. I just couldn't understand why somebody would want a 9 to 5 job and not want to work hard and not want to do it. I just, because I was not in that mind space, and then I had a few hiccups on the way. I fell down a few times, and I realized that when that happens in life, I also needed my space. And that can happen to anyone. So it taught me a lot of empathy during and after the pandemic. And it taught me that I need to do something outside of work. And I can't just have that as my only identity, because I heard this in some interview with the Shark Tank judges, where one of the founders, she said, I'm not only an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a mother, I'm a marathon runner, and I'm all of these different things. And these are just one of the few things that I do. So I realized I need to start having that list of things, otherwise it'll be a problem.
So, what has been added to your list now?
I started horse riding last year.
Okay, you must be so light for the horse.
I eat all our samples here and then I go horse riding to burn the calories. But yes, that was something I really, really enjoy. And I needed that separation and that time away.
They say horse riding is very meditative because the horse has a rhythm in the way the horse walks. Do you
Yes.
feel that?
I enjoy being with the horse even more than the riding part. Even if I don't do the class that day, I go and I say hello to every single horse and I talk to them. I say, "How are you? Did you eat your food?" So I'm quite odd like that. Most people are like that with dogs and cats, but I'm like that with horses.
With horses. Okay. That's because not everybody gets a chance with horses.
That's true.
Dogs and cats are easier.
That's true.
Meghna, for the journey that you've had, absolutely inspirational. I'm sure you've been invited by schools, colleges, your own alma mater, to come and speak to the youngsters there, the students there. So, is there something that you're doing for them or would like to do for them?
There are actually a lot of people who come and ask where because they want to open similar businesses or any business. And I started something in 2021 called Pay It Forward. And I write about my business experiences on a blog. And along with that, I encourage them to DM me on Instagram. I'm at Megna Jain, Megnajain, and if they DM me, I speak to them for an hour on Sunday um, about 3 challenges that they may have and any solution that I might have for them. And it's totally free. It's just because somebody helped me and I feel that it'll be beneficial to help someone.
Wow. Three life lessons that you'd like to leave us with.
I think that I've learned consistency is everything. It doesn't matter whether it's sports or entrepreneurship or anything, as long as one shows up even on the difficult days, um, that will get us much far ahead. Uh, Somebody said, I don't remember who said, that we underestimate how much we can do in 5 years and overestimate how much we can do in 1 year. I think that's what consistency is. So that's my number one. I don't know if it's a life lesson, but it's a work lesson. The world rewards productivity and not perfectionism. I used to do many things myself because I didn't want to let go of that particular role because I felt it was so important. And now I realize that when I hire people and if they make mistakes, it's okay because there's a value of my time. And that is the third point, that time has a value and I cannot exchange it by thinking, oh, if I do this, I won't have to pay another person to do it, because I have to put literally a monetary value on every minute that I'm spending. Otherwise, it won't do the business any good.
Wow. Absolutely gray head on green shoulders. I'm not at all surprised how you are such a successful businesswoman. I love your value of keeping women in a space where the world, by percentage, says men do better, and showing that, yes, a woman's team can do well and disprove what the world has shown us. All the very, very best to you, Meghna. It's been such a pleasure talking to you and just listening to these beautiful life lessons, so authentic, and the growth mindset you have. I'm sure life has huge plans for you, and you're going to continue to be an inspiration. I'm sure you're an inspiration to your juniors at college or wherever you've studied, and you're going to continue to be one. I'm sure God is watching over you and keeping a special hand over you for the beautiful heart that you have inside you. Stay blessed, Meghna. Honored to have had you on You and I with Rashmi Shetty.
Thank you.
With that, we come to the end of this weekly quest of You and I with Rashmi Shetty. Do let us know if you know people who make the world beautiful. Write in to rashmi.the3rd@gmail.com. That is rashmi.thirdeye@gmail.com. InnerChef.com. Come, let's explore this amazing world together, both you and I.